Well, hello again, everyone. Today's topic, we're going to talk about how do you make your teenager feel loved? This is an interesting question that comes up every once in a while. Sometimes it's just because the parent feels a little disconnect from their teenager, or sometimes the teenager may even actually say to you, "You don't love me anymore," that kind of a comment. And so this question comes up from time to time. So today we're going to share a few strategies, some things that you can do to help communicate to your teenager and help them to start to develop the sense that you do in fact love them. So let's dive into these strategies. Well, hello everyone. My name is Jim White and I'm an author, coach, and the founder of the Family Enrichment Academy. Now today we're going to be talking about how do you get your teenager to feel loved or to communicate to them that you love them. But before we dive in there, I just wanted to say thank you and acknowledge you for joining us here today and being a hero for your family. Part of our mission here at the Family Enrichment Academy is to build a community of family heroes just like yourself that are willing to take a stand for love and the power that love can have within their family. And with each one that joins our community, we move one step closer to our overall vision, which is to build love-based communities, one successful family at a time. So again, welcome for being here. It's truly an honor for you to be part of our mission and our journey. So anyway, and actually before we jump into our discussion today about how to get your teenager to feel loved, I wanted to let you know that I also have a free resource for you today. What it is, I have 10 questions that you should never ask your teenager. Think of these as like conversation killers. And then I also have 10 great questions. These are the conversation starters. And so there's a link below. You can click on that link and you can download these great questions. And the premise is a lot of times parents, and actually this conversation today is somewhat related, the idea that they feel disconnected or their teens won't open up to them. And part of the solution is to ask better questions. And so this resource helps get you a jump start and move towards that goal of getting your teen to open up by asking better questions. So anyway, free resource for you available down below. So today we're going to be talking about getting your teen to feel loved. And we're going to focus on one of the elements within the book. We talk about building connection, and one of our strategies is we talk about being kind, and the center of that conversation is around the 5 love languages. Now you may have heard of this concept before, the 5 love languages. So today we're going to kind of talk through how you can utilize them as a way to communicate to your teen that you do in fact love them and help to build that connection with them. So let's dive into these love languages and see if we can get you moving down that path a little bit. So if your teenager is saying something like, "I don't feel like you love me anymore," or you start to sense that your teenager is not feeling the love that you are offering and sharing with them, that can happen from time to time. And at the core of this is the idea of building connection, or a breakdown in the connection between you and your teenager. And that building connection is one of the 3 fundamental elements that we really focus on here at the Family Enrichment Academy. So anything you can do to build and develop connection is going to help to have that teenager feel the love that you have for them. Now, with that being said, today we're going to focus in on one of the strategies that we share in the book that I put together, which is around being kind, which is really centered around the 5 love languages. Now, if you're familiar with the 5 love languages, or if you haven't heard of it, it was a book written by a gentleman by the name of Gary Chapman and Ross Campbell. And they developed this idea of 5 love languages. And most people, when they hear that, they're more familiar with that book. Original book was written for couples and around marriage, but they've also written subsequent books that were more directed at teenagers and children in general. So anyway, it's the same concepts in love languages are available to you, if you will, that you can use with your teen. And those 5 love languages are, I'm going to read them just to make sure I get them all correct. It's physical touch, words of affirmation, quality time, gifts, and acts of service. So those are the 5 different love languages. And the premise is to try to engage with the other person, in this case your teenager, inside of their primary love language. Now all of us probably have appreciate all of 5 of these different love languages, but what they argue, the authors Gary and Ross argue, is that all of us have a primary love language. This is the one that we most respond to. Let me give you a simple example. Like for my wife, I think her primary love language is acts of service. And so how that comes out, for example, what I might do, let's say she's busy doing something today, and I take her car maybe and I go get it washed and I sweep it out. I use the vacuum and clean out the inside of her car. That's an act of service. And when she gets the car back and gets back in, she recognizes that and feels the love that I have for her through that act of service. So that's an example of an act of service. Quality time, for example, our youngest daughter, Isabella, I think quality time is one of her big ones. And an example, there's times, and one specific, she gets home late at night. She used to wait tables at a local restaurant, and there was a time when she got home late at night. I happened to be in the kitchen. She started to talk, and I just sat there with her for like 30 minutes. So we had some quality time together. And that's an example of me communicating to her through her preferred love language. So part of this process for you and your teen is to go through and try to identify what is your teen's primary love language. And sometimes you just got to think about it a little bit, or you can ask a few questions, or just, again, try to get a sense of what you feel like they respond to the most. And when you start to identify that, is it physical touch, which would be a hug or a kiss on the cheek, or for a son, it's a high five, that sort of thing. Words of affirmation, just when you encourage them by acknowledging them or telling them that you're proud of them or that you're excited that they've accomplished something. So again, those words of affirmation might be a good way to communicate your love. Quality time, as I just mentioned, find ways, if your son or daughter responds to that, find ways to spend some quality time with them where you're just one-on-one with them. Gifts, we haven't talked about this, but sometimes teens, they like gifts. And so it's a matter of how can you offer a gift. And again, it doesn't have to be something big and extravagant, but just something that shows that you took the time to put something together, maybe buy something small and offer it to them as a gift. Could be as simple as a cup of coffee from Starbucks, that sort of thing. And then the last one, acts of service. Does your teen respond when you do things for them, or acts of service? So my encouragement to you is to think through these 5 different love languages, and again, really try to identify what does your teen respond to, and then be very intentional about engaging with them through that particular love language. And as you do that, they'll start to feel it, and hopefully we can close that gap between them feeling the love that you actually have for them. So anyway, that's the strategy I wanted to share today. It's all around being kind and using those 5 love languages to, again, build that connection. It's a way to build connection and bridge that gap so your teen feels the love that you have for them. So let's recap. So today we're talking about the question where your teenager says that they don't feel loved by you or feel like you don't love them. So it's all around how do we get our teenager to feel the love that we had for them. And my recommendation, at least for today, has been around building connection through the idea of being kind via the 5 love languages. And part of the process is trying to uncover which love language speaks to your child the most, or which one they respond to the most. And actually, down below, I'll share a link. There's a quiz that you can have your teenager take, and actually it might be good for you to take as well, that helps you to identify which love languages you prefer. And so this would be something fun to do together with your teen, and I'll share that link down below as well. And then again, once you've identified that love language, then look for ways to be intentional about communicating via that love language. So anyway, that's a recap of the strategy for today. Once again, I have that free resource for you, those 10 questions you should never ask your teenager. Again, think of these as like conversations killers, and then those 10 great questions, the questions that open them up. And I would just assert you start incorporating these questions and these strategies into your conversations today, and you will be amazed at how much you can get your teen to start opening up right away. So That resource is available. Click there'll be a link down below for that as well, and you can get that. So again, it's truly an honor to be able to serve you as you move along your parenting journey. And I just appreciate you connecting to our community of family heroes, those folks that are taking a stand for the power of love and what the impact that it can have within their family. So that's all for today. Again, thanks for being here, and remember, a change in perspective changes everything.